Love this man. Love his work. Can't wait to hear what he's got to say about the NCAA tournament that just concluded. He is from the worldwide leader in sports. Been there forever and a day. So far long ago that I've worked with him there many times. Back here on the Rich Eisen Show on the Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line, the great Jay Bilas. How are you, Jay?
I am doing great, Rich. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm hanging in there, man. What a tournament, right? I mean, it was just terrific. What leaps out at you from the tournament writ large, Jay Bilas?
Just how it was probably the most unpredictable tournament that I can recall. Maybe there has been one or two. The only thing that was predictable is that you had sort of the big shots advance to the second weekend, but the little guy that advanced was so little, it sort of upended everything and took all the air out of the room with that story being St. Peter's. So you had a 15 seed that made it to the Elite Eight for the first time ever. But outside of St. Peter's, the rest of the Sweet 16 was 13 major conference teams, Gonzaga and Houston, both of whom were in the Final Four last year and could hardly be called Cinderellas. So it was, while it was volatile, having North Carolina make it to the championship game and an upset of a number one, in the second round, and then an upset of a number one in the Sweet 16 and all that. We only had one number one seed make it through the Final Four. It was one number one, two number twos, and North Carolina as a number eight. It was unpredictable, but predictable in the way that we had a ton of big shots that were the sort of the unpredictable ones. Like when double-digit seeds that advance to the Sweet 16 are, Michigan and Iowa State and teams like that. I don't call them, the little engine that could. So it was somewhat predictable in that fashion.
And then Kansas coming back last night. What did Bill Self say to that team at halftime, do you think? What adjustments did they make, Jay?
Yeah, I think they just talked about it being a long game, and they hadn't played well, and they didn't make North Carolina feel them defensively. So they were much more physical in the second half. They guarded the ball much better. Thought DeJuan Harris, their point guard, their best perimeter defender, was much more active, pressuring the ball, and they got some steals, and they really forced North Carolina. They took away their pace, and so their offense became a little bit more one-dimensional. They had to make individual plays, and they wound up taking some questionable jump shots instead of attacking the paint, whether it's off the dribble or off the pass. And they have some foul issues. I mean, Leaky Black got in foul trouble. That took them off Ochai Agbaji. But they just got some better performances, one defensively, and then they did a better job on the glass. Even though they got out-rebounded pretty badly, they didn't give up as many. In the first half, they got out-rebounded, I think, by 9, and they gave up 8 offensive rebounds. But North Carolina scored 18 points off those, so they converted on everything. In the second half, Carolina got some offensive rebounds, but they weren't able to convert on them just because Kansas was so much tougher and converged to the ball and did a way better job defensively. And their attack was more concerted to get it inside. And, they posted Christian Brown. They got the ball to David McCormick, and then Remy Martin came off the bench and knocked down several threes. Like he had 11 points, if I remember right, in the second half to have 14 overall. He banked one in the first half for his only 3. But they were just better, and they held Carolina to 27% in the second half, and they ate into that lead pretty quickly and put a lot of game pressure on Carolina. They never, they couldn't really respond. And so I thought Kansas was, the better team, but Carolina had been playing so well, they clearly could have won that game no matter what. But having Baycott compromised, Baycott had that bum ankle and still had 15 points, 15 rebounds. He's just had an extraordinary year.
Unbelievable. I mean, he had the second most rebounds in the history of the NCAA tournament. He was spectacular. And was that a loose floorboard that got him last night, Jay?
I saw that. I saw that, Rich, on social media, and I couldn't really tell what that was. I mean, his ankle was screwed up anyway, so that could have been a contributing factor. It could have been the whole thing. And who knows? I don't know whether it's some optical illusion, but I can't imagine there was a loose floorboard. But if there was, That's something that they need to take into account and remedy. But I hope it wasn't that. But it was hard for me to tell. Like when I saw that on social media, loose floorboard. How could the NCAA do this? I couldn't believe it, and I just couldn't see it well enough to know if there's any truth to it.
And then I could say, where's Kansas go from here? But it's Kansas City, Jay, right? I heard that one. Right, that's where they go next.
That was a beauty. Obviously, Emmert just misspoke, but
yes.
Given the job he's done, that didn't help his the public perception of him as a competent professional.
Well put. Jay Bilas here on the Rich Eisen Show. So are you, because of the nature of your profession and how you play it straight and you just play it right down the middle, are you above the Duke-Carolina fray? Do you get the texts from Carolina people on a night like Saturday night, or you're just you're out of that mix because you've been sort of impartial for as long as you've been, Jay?
Overall, I think I am above the fray, honestly. Like, I really don't care who wins these games. That's up to the participants. And I know so many people there at Carolina, and I count Hubert Davis among my most valued friends. So when that game was a really interesting feeling for me. I was doing the game for ESPN. I was doing all the games for ESPN International, which my NIL deals in Sweden have skyrocketed. It's really fantastic. But when the buzzer went off, I was so happy for Hubert and those Carolina players. Like, Duke and Carolina recruit the same guys. It's not like they're foreign to one another as far as they're different people or anything. The fans can go crazy all they want to, and they should crow and use this as a trump card because the Duke people would have done the same thing. But then the contrast of having Coach K's last game and watching him walk off the floor. Look, I've said this. I mean, I wasn't sad about it being the end for Coach K, because I get it. He's 75 years old. It's time for him to move to the next stage of his life. But it was poignant, and I did have this overwhelming feeling of gratitude. Obviously, on a personal level, having known him since I was 17, and all the things that he's done for me, and what my life is because of him, but also for just as a somebody who loves basketball, that whether it's when Nick Saban leaves or when Bear Bryant retired or when John Wooden retired, you have an appreciation for what he's meant to the game. And I think, Rich, we're all kind of guys our age are all kind of fortunate. We lived through Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods, and we lived through Kareem, Magic, Bird, Jordan, and LeBron and Durant. And we've lived through Dean Smith and Coach K, and for me, John Wooden when I was a kid. And now the younger guys that like Jay Wright that are taking the baton over. It's really been kind of an extraordinary time, at least for our lifetimes, to have, like, I'm 58. Coach K's been at Duke for 42 years. And my whole adult life has been, my relationship with the school is way better because he stayed there. And I really believe this, that my relationship with my former teammates and the guys who have played there is way stronger because we all played for the same coach. There's a commonality there that most players don't get to experience. And, the guys at Syracuse have, but very few others have had that kind of common experience that they share.
How do you think, Jay, I don't know if you've spoken to him yet, how do you think the way it ended is going to sit with Coach K? Jay?
The same. I don't know if it'll be magnified because it's the last time or magnified because it was North Carolina versus another, if Michigan State had knocked him out or Texas Tech or something. I think every year when they lose, just like for every coach, every team, there's a down period where you have, hey, what if I'd done this, or that one really hurt. This one has a little bit more. It has more layers to it. So I don't really know the answer to that. I haven't spoken to him yet. I sent him I talked to Danny Ferry about this. We had dinner the other night, and I said, "Are you gonna call him?" Because I'm thinking about, should I call, because I don't want to bother him.
Right.
But Danny said, "No, I'm going to send him a note." And I had actually just done that. I sent him a letter. But I'll catch up with him in the next several days, just to sort of debrief the whole thing and let him know the feeling when he was walking off and see what he has to say. But it's just sort of a weird. It's kind of a weird time. Like he didn't just announce that he was leaving. Otherwise, I would have called and been there and all that stuff. It's been a year-long process, so we've had a lot longer to wrap our heads around this one. So it's a little bit of a different than the normal retirement of an icon, a Mount Rushmore type.
Well, I mean, I'll ask it anyway. I know the answer to it, but I'll ask it anyway, since there are many who are wondering. The way that it ended is something that Coach K won't be able to countenance, to the point where he'll say, you know what, I want to do one more year and tell John Shire, you got this a year from now. Do you think there's any chance of that happening?
Zero. Yeah, zero. But if he does it, I hope he does it. If he does come back, I hope he does it on one of Tom Brady's most important days. Because Brady announced he was coming back during the bracket reveal of Selection Sunday, and so I think Coach K should time it to one of Brady's most important moments.
Wow,
and do that.
Well, I mean, Tom had to get it out there because, free agency was about to begin. He couldn't lose anybody. You know what I mean? Like, so you're saying he should have just waited till all the regions were announced or something like that, right?
I'm sure that's what Brady's going to say, that it had to do more with free agent signings and making sure that Tampa Bay was as competitive as possible, so that he could come back to the best possible team. I'm sure that's going to be the narrative, Rich. But the truth is, as a helmet-wearing, purveyor
yes.
of that sadistic ground acquisition game that is nothing more than a crypto-fascist metaphor for war, that was just about demeaning the round ball game that is far more beautiful than football. That's all that was, and let's just be honest about it.
Well, I mean, I think you're being honest about it if you use the word crypto-fascist in relation, to the conversation. Jay, I didn't think you were mentioning anything.
It is just a war. It is just a metaphor for war. They talk about it's a ground acquisition game. That's all it is. And they talk about throwing the bomb, and it's very militaristic. And basketball is a game of balletic movement. We don't have committee meetings between each play. You have to play offense and defense without a break. Look, football is a great game, and it's certainly a wonderful distraction while basketball is on its hiatus. But let's be honest, it is not the same type of wonderful, beautiful game that is the second most popular game in the world. While football happens to be popular here, but nowhere else on the planet.
I like your agenda, Jay, that you've brought to the table here today. I really, I admire it. I very, very much.
It's just subjective honesty, Rich. It's not an agenda. I'm a truth teller.
Oh my God, Jay Bilas here on the Rich Eisen Show. You have caused me to actually need to clear my throat. So before I let you go, what did you make of North Carolina's run at the very end of the day, Jay Bilas, and what that means for the program writ large with Hubert Davis?
It was a great example, Rich, of several things, but one for any team, that your record and the analytics of your performance during the season can tell you what you've accomplished, but it doesn't necessarily tell you or tell others what you're capable of doing.
Yes.
And Hubert Davis had this unshakable belief in their ability to accomplish something great. And even when they were struggling, still believed that they were a championship caliber team. And I can tell you that among the basketball community, he was a gang of one in that. And I'm sure his players believed him in telling him that, but nobody outside the program believed that in January or early February. But also, like, Hubert Davis, to me, and I got the chance to work with him closely for 7 years when he was with ESPN. We worked together on College Game Day and other things. And honestly, Rich, I don't know a better person than Hubert Davis. He's a great example that you can be a nice, empathetic, thoughtful person in every way, and be a cutthroat competitor when it's time to compete. And those two things aren't mutually exclusive. He's all class all the time, And I was so happy for him. And he said one thing that, we do these interviews like on Sunday. You sit both the championship game coaches down, and I had asked him about, Roy Williams and being at all the games and all that. And he says, I haven't really been able to watch Coach Williams on this ride. He says, but I have been watching my family. And he talked about his kids didn't see him play in the NBA. And they get to see him now accomplish something like this. And he's really enjoyed having his family along for this ride. And it, of all the things that I admire about Hubert, and I said this about him in the first couple of years we worked together, he's the best father I have ever seen. And it's not close. He puts, all of us that think we're decent dads are put to shame by Hubert Davis. Best dad in history. It's absurd how good of a dad he is.
I just took my best dad ever sign off my desk. That's why my guys are laughing.
Yeah, send it to Chapel Hill because second best dad. I'll cede that to you, but Hubert is taking best dad.
That's great. Before I let you go, Jay, which player will make the biggest impact in the NBA? Which one did we just see in this tournament that you might be talking about come draft night in a couple months, or the following seasons in the association?
Yeah, I think the top three in the draft are going to be Chet Holmgren of Gonzaga, Jabari Smith of Auburn, and Paolo Banchero of Duke. They're the youngest, and that seems to be the way the game has gone, is who has the highest ceiling for the future. But those three guys are extraordinary talents, and it's going to be basically what do you like the best, because all of them make a pretty good case for number one. But it's a pretty deep draft class. Jaden Ivey of Purdue is fantastic. It's not a draft of point guards as much as it is wings and front court players. But there's a ton of talent in this draft, and if it were me right now, I'd probably go with Jabari Smith of Auburn. He's the closest thing offensively to Durant. And he's not Durant, but he's the closest thing with his ability to score and shoot it. He's going to have a great NBA career if he stays healthy.
And then the first person to see Holmgren when he's in the NBA isn't his head coach; it's the strength coach, right? I mean, isn't that the first guy he'll have to be introduced to in the NBA?
Yeah, he'll have to get stronger. I don't think his body is going to carry a ton of weight. He's always going to be lanky and thin, but with his ability to block shot, it's hard for offensive players to get into his body. There are things that right now you can do against him, but because of his talent level, his ability to rebound and handle it, block shots, and shoot threes and all that, he's in a lot of ways built for the NBA, but his body does give you a little bit of pause. You just don't see guys built like that very often. He's kind of a Porzingis type body, and there were a lot of questions about Porzingis. Would he be able to handle the pounding of the NBA? And so there are a lot of old school guys in the NBA that his body style gives him a little bit of pause. And it does for me, too. You just don't see it very often.
Jay, really appreciate all the times you've called in every single time. You make me smarter and laugh, and I appreciate it, my friend. Next time here in person out in Southern California, let's do it.
I'll be there in July, and I'd love to come in.
I'd love it. Thanks again, Jay. Appreciate it. We'll chat again soon.
See you, brother.
Thank you. That's Jay Bilas, the great Jay Bilas, here on the Rich Eisen Show. Didn't see the answer to that Coach K question being a broadside in Brady's direction.
Wow. Crypto fascist.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.